Okay, this is the Aileron bell crank. I thought I was videoing how to cut that hole out and what to do, what I do here, and it turns out that it didn't record properly. So, okay, all right, I'll show you what I am up to. These are the control rods. Actually, we'll start here. This is the rigging tool to set up this Aileron bell crank. And what you're supposed to do, we'll just move that rod out of the way a little bit. What you're supposed to do is insert this here somewhere like that, up against the rib, bring the bell crank around until it touches it, and that's the correct position for the bell crank. This piece of wood is at a particular angle. It has a particular angle built in. And yeah, what you're trying to do is set this Aileron bell crank at that correct angle. This face of the Aileron bell crank, I didn't like that very much. So what I did was I set this at the particular angle that you're meant to have it at, and I drilled a hole for a rigging pin. Now obviously this is just a long series drill, 3/32 of an inch drill, and I drilled through there and into this structural underneath. So that also sets my rigging, and you can check it with the bit of wood if you like. The bit of wood just wants to fall out and fall on your head, because this is the underside of the lower wing, and you're working upside down when you're trying to rig the aeroplane, although I'll rig it while it's on the bench like this. But that's all I've done, is I've installed a pin in this structural. That's my rigging pin. These bell cranks, the Aileron bell crank, will attach here. It'll be bolted onto the bell crank there, these control rods. It'll come out of the aeroplane and down this end, there, onto the little bell crank, or the little horn on the Aileron. Yeah. And of course, as this bell crank moves, the Aileron will move. I'll take it apart again a little bit. This will go on. And of course, the Aileron pushrod, as it moves through this kidney-shaped arc here, which is why that hole is that shape. Yeah. It's important. Rigging the Aileron is important, because you've got... that was good, I was explaining that. Yeah, this cutout in the panel is because when the bell crank travels, it travels through a weird arc, and this rod will move backwards and forwards in that same arc, and it'll raise and lower the Aileron as appropriate. So that's what's going on here. And like I said, I'll do the rigging on the bench. Once all this covering is finished, I'll do the rigging on the bench, probably in the assembly hangar next door. The other Aileron bell crank, we'll put that rigging pin back in there, like that. That's pretty sturdy now. You seeing this? You are seeing it. The other bell crank comes through the wing and joins on the other bell crank. The other control rod comes through the bell crank and joins on here. and the other end of that push rod attaches to the control column inside the cockpit. Yeah, so that's that little. This is what I was doing before. I've marked where I want it cut, where I want to cut it off, cut the fabric off. So then we just put the razor blade where we want it cut on the line, and then lift this piece up. Yeah? This one's a little bit different in that we've got a tape that actually dog legs across over to here. They're not actually in line. The other tapes are in line with one another, but this is the odd one out type of thing. So same deal though. I've already cut this one off. This part of the top of this tape, I've cut it off squarely. And I put that where I want it joined up, and there we go. There's the tapes. This one finishes, that one starts. Yeah? Simple as. Righto. What we're going to do is we're going to install these 2-inch tapes. I've marked where I want the one edge of the tape to be. I don't care where the other edge goes, but it'll be along those lines there. Look something like that. Okay, I'm going to start up the other end. Just simply, this is like left-handed to me, so I'll start up there and work my way this way. What we're going to do is we're going to start here, and we'll go about 2 bays. What the heck? About to there somewhere. Spread a fair bit of glue. Yeah, about like that. I want some sticking out beyond this rib, so we'll go about that much probably. That's enough, perfect. Line up on our line and set the tape down. Now the main objective of this tape, of course, is to cover the ends of these tapes that run that way. We'll get our paper towel. I'll take some of them down that end. I tend to use a fair bit of this stuff. And we just, again, we're trying to rub the glue through the fabric underneath, and wipe off the excess, like that. There's some places here that are a little bit dry, I can see. We might just add a tiny bit more glue along this edge and along the leading edge. Right there, needs some towards the leading edge. Beautiful. Wipe that off now. Well, that looks really good, really good. This bit that's hanging over, I'll glue it down tomorrow. Now we'll do another couple of bays. Oopsie. I'm going to need more glue in a minute too. Oopsie. That's pretty good. This is a bit dry, this one. Get a bit more through there. Yep, need more. Need some more glue. That's slopped on fairly well, but we'll just have to do a bit more wiping here to get it off again. I think we'll take this one right to the end. Okay. Well, the day did start off pretty nice. It's fairly cool. Most of this cloud's come in the last sort of half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, something like that. But honestly, I think it's time we went for a fly. The day's plenty nice enough to fly, and we haven't flown in nearly a week, so no, you can't have that. So anyway, that's what we're about to do. I'm fairly well rugged up. Let's put that there. Yeah, that's the plan. Go for a little bit of a fly, and I guess on that subject, if you've ever thought about learning to fly, I can make a guarantee to you right now that it'll never be cheaper than it is today. Okay, you can write that on the calendar if you like. Never cheaper than it actually is today. I remember let's turn me around where you can see me. I remember in the mid to late 70s, I was at an Air Force base where we had a flying school. Most of the instructors had worked for peanuts, and it cost $17 an hour. I couldn't afford $17 an hour, no way in this wide world. I waited for probably the best part of 15 or 20 years, and I paid $170 an hour. Well, now it's $270 an hour. So, like I say, it won't be cheaper than it is today. So if you're thinking of learning to fly, get out there now and find a flying school. Anyway, I've already done most of the pre-flight. I've just got to remove my pitot cover. And look at this, I've got an alligator clip here on the earth point. And if you follow it down, it's actually connected to the pitot cover. What the hell does that do? Well, if I look out the side of the aeroplane, and I can see this alligator clip attached to that earth point, it's probably not a good idea to go flying, unless you can do it without using airspeed. If you don't need airspeed to fly, well, no worries, go for your life. But anyway, that's the tip for the day. If you've got a low wing aeroplane, try and find some way to remind you that to take the pitot cover off. Anyway, let's go out there and do it before there's any more cloud forming. I can talk you through my startup checks if you like. Everybody's different. I don't use a formal checklist. What I actually do is I start here between the seats. This is the flap lever that looks like a handbrake on a car, and I put the flap up. Then I work my way along here. This is the fuel selector valve. I work out which tank I want to use, be it the right tank or the left tank. Yeah, if you watch my videos, you know that this is very, very similar, like identical to the one in the Renegade. Working my way up, this black knob here is the elevator trim. I have that set for takeoff. This is the mixture control. It needs to be full rich for startup. That's full rich. Carby heat needs to be off. Throttle needs to be pumped in a minute, but we're not going to do that right now. We come up. Here's the tacho. We've got exhaust gas and cylinder head temperature here, or we will have when I turn the power on. Come across to the altimeter, I set that to field elevation, which is at this hangar, it's about 940 feet. The artificial horizon will speak for itself. I get to the airspeed indicator. Ooh, have a look out there at the, wherever it is, over there somewhere, to the earth point, and there's no alligator clip on it, so there's a fair chance that the pitot cover's been removed. Come down here to the G meter. Yeah, I was having a little play last time I went flying. And you reset it now. It's not normally reset after a flight. It's normally reset before the next flight. Because if I'm a different pilot to the one who flew this aeroplane last, I want to know what's been happening in terms of aerobatics or whatever. So I can reset that now. You just press the button and all three needles. This is maximum plus G, which is about a bit over 3. This is the maximum negative needle at the bottom, which is a little bit below 1. So I went light at one stage. And the one in the middle is what we're currently pulling now, which is pretty much 1, hopefully. So reset that, and there, all 3 needles should be lined up the same. Over here to the directional gyro. Let's have a look at the compass first. Yeah, don't get the camera too close to the compass or it starts whizzing around. Bermuda Triangle. Do. Nah. Okay, so it's roughly around 3:20, 3:15. We can set that now if we wanted to. It'll work out pretty good. There's 3:15 right there. Vertical speed indicator, not doing much. Tacho's not doing anything because we're not running. The radios don't come into play just yet. Fuel levels don't come into play yet. I haven't turned the power on. Voltmeter, amps, oil pressure and oil temperature. No, manifold pressure. No, manifold pressure, yes, it's reading around 30 inches. This is in inches of mercury. So, okay, at this point in time, we can come down to the next level, turn the power on. And I usually insert the key around this time. Okay. Avionics, which stays off for now. Of course, we're not going to have any vacuum suction right now because the engine's not running and it's an engine-driven vacuum pump. Circuit breakers are all in. Fuel pressure. Before we start, we'll actually turn the boost pump on, which down near the battery box there. No, down here near that's where it is on the Renegade. It's actually down below on the main spar, below these controls, right down here somewhere. So we turn the boost pump on. There it is, ticking away. Fuel pressure comes up. If the engine hasn't been running a long time, you'll hear the note change on the fuel pump when the carburetor bowl fills up with fuel. It'll actually start making a different, it's still rattling like that, but it'll make a different rattle. Okay, now we're ready to wind it over. So I'm going to put you down because I can't use 3 hands at the same time. I'm going to have to put you down somewhere and you can at least listen to the startup. How about you sit there? Now, how about you sit there? And you'll probably go rattling around when the engine starts. Clear prop. I'm going to wind the engine over and pump the throttle. I don't have a primer on this. I put a primer on it when I built it and I removed it because it was just too vicious, unpredictable. Or, no, too vicious would be the right word. I just use the accelerator pump on the carburetor and pump the throttle while I'm winding the engine. Clear prop. Pump, pump. Okay, she's a little bit cold. Didn't really want to start up. First thing we look for is oil pressure. Oil pressure's rising. Yeah. Manifold pressure's doing its thing. Volts and amps are doing their thing. And the fuel gauges have come up to about where they're starting to work. the time to fire up the radio stack. So we've got, I'll close the canopy so it's a bit easier for you to hear me. I turn on the avionics bus, which is a little bit smoother electricity, if you get that. There's a few capacitors in there to absorb any spikes that might appear on that bus. Okay, so let's turn that on, and then we can turn the avionics avionics stack on. So we can turn on one instrument at a time. This one's the transponder. It takes a fair while for the encoder, which is located over here inside above the glove box. It takes a while for that to warm up and work out what altitude we're at. Eventually it'll display the altitude where there's a flashing. Turn the radio on. This is our local airport frequency, 126.15, and this is our area frequency, 134.65. At this point I also turn on the GPS lights as well, so that'll warm up. This one will warm up while we're taxiing. We've still got our oil pressure. The engine's as happy as Larry. Okay, so now, at this point, I'll put my seatbelt on. I haven't put my seatbelt on yet. If something went wrong and we had an engine fire or something like that, I need to be able to get out. I don't normally close the canopy either. I've only closed the canopy so that I can talk to you. But anyway, that's as simple as that. We've now got our immediate after startup checks done, and we're going to taxi and do some more checks once we get down on near the runway. I can leave you running and edit that bit out, I suppose. You can try and sit up there and watch me put the seatbelts on. That's always funny. I don't know how successful this is going to be. I'm going to have to put you down on. I want to do the engine checks and hold the elevators back at the same time, but bring the engine up to 1700 RPM. Turn off one of the magnetos and we get about an 80 or 90 RPM drop. Turn it back to both again. Turn the other one off and get about a 50, 60, 70, about a 70 RPM drop. We also then make sure the engine will idle. It'd be a bad thing if it didn't. Which, where are we? Here we are. And yes, it idles at about 600 RPM. And the cylinder head temperature is coming up. Oil temperature will be coming up also. It's a bit slow to come up. We've still got a ways to go to get to the back to the runway. Let's taxi to the threshold. To enter the runway 36, and we'll just hold here for a second. At this point we want to select alt on the transponder. We're already warmed up. It's displaying 500 feet right now. That's what it's transmitting, 500 feet, or it will be when I press alt. Right. Our little indicator light changed over to alt, and we're now transmitting that altitude. And we make our radio call. Traffic to Norfolk, Boston, Charlie, RB6 enters and lines up, runway 36, for a local flight to the west. Okay, nothing's coming down that way. Be a bad thing if there was, and I'm entering the runway. The only other aircraft in play this morning was that RB4 that just landed. Okay, we line up on 36 pretty much.